Hey everyone, let's talk about something pretty incredible happening inside your body right now. Without you even thinking about it, your cells are eating, drinking, and breathing. So how do they do it? Well, it's all about two things, diffusion and osmosis. And today, we're going to break it all down.
Okay, so here's the really wild part. How do your cells do all this work? Eating, breathing, drinking, without using any energy? I mean, it sounds kind of impossible, right? But it's true. It happens automatically all day, every single day.
So, here's what we've got on the menu today. First, we'll check out the cell's security gate. Then we'll dive into what diffusion is, and after that, we'll meet its special cousin, osmosis. We'll even see what makes them go faster or slower. And then we'll wrap it all up with a quick summary and a fun little quiz.
All right, first up, the cell's security gate.
Okay, so every single cell in your body has a barrier around it called the plasma membrane. You can think of it just like a security gate. Its main job is to let the good stuff in, like food and oxygen, and keep the bad stuff out. Super important.
Now, this security gate is really special. It's something we call semi-permeable. I know, it's a big word, but all it means is that it's picky. It only lets some things through. Little tiny molecules, yep, they can pass right through. But bigger molecules, nope, they get blocked. So it's a very, very smart gatekeeper.
And here's the key idea. All this movement happens through something called passive transport. And passive just means it happens automatically. The cell uses zero energy. It's kind of like a ball rolling down a hill. You don't have to push it, right? It just goes. That's passive transport. So, if the cell isn't using any energy, how in the world do things move around? Well, that brings us to our next section. What is diffusion?
So, what exactly is diffusion? It's really simple. It's just the way molecules spread out. They always move from a place where there are a lot of them, we call that high concentration, to a place where there are not so many, that's low concentration. They just want to spread out evenly.
And you've totally seen this happen in real life. Think about it. Someone sprays perfume in the corner of a room. At first, you can only smell it right there, where it's super strong. That's high concentration. But give it a minute, and what happens? The smell spreads all across the room until everyone can smell it. That's diffusion.
And this isn't just about perfume. It's happening inside you right now. When you take a breath, your lungs fill up with lots and lots of oxygen. That's a high concentration. Your blood, on the other hand, has less oxygen. So what happens? The oxygen automatically diffuses from your lungs right into your blood. It's perfect.
Okay, so that's diffusion for all sorts of molecules. But there's a special kind of diffusion for just one super important molecule, water. And that brings us to our next topic. What is osmosis?
Okay, this is the most important thing to remember. Osmosis is basically diffusion, but it's only for water. That's the rule. It's just water molecules moving across that picky, semi-permeable membrane we talked about earlier.
And where do we see this? Plants. Think about how a plant drinks. There's a lot of water in the soil, right? And less water inside the plant's roots. So the water naturally moves from the soil, through the root's membrane, and into the plant. That's osmosis at work, helping plants get a drink.
All right, so we know that these molecules move. But do they always move at the same speed? Nope. Sometimes diffusion is fast, and sometimes it's slow. So let's figure out why.
It turns out there are three main things that can change how fast diffusion happens. We're going to look at concentration gradient, temperature, and surface area.
First up, concentration gradient. Again, sounds complicated, but it just means how big is the difference between the crowded area and the empty area. And the rule is super simple. The bigger the difference, the faster the molecules move. It's like if you have a huge crowd trying to get into an empty room, they're going to rush in really fast.
Okay, next factor, temperature. Let's think about making tea. If you put a tea bag in hot water, what happens? The color spreads super fast, right? That's because the heat gives all those little tea molecules a ton of energy and they start zipping around. But in cold water, they're slow, kind of sluggish, so the tea spreads out way more slowly.
And our last one is surface area. This just means how much space there is for the molecules to cross. A bigger surface means faster diffusion. I like to think of it like doors at a school. If there's only one door, it takes forever for everyone to get out, right? But if you have 20 doors, everyone can get out much, much faster. It's the same idea.
All right, that was a lot, I know. But you did great. Let's do a super quick summary and then a little quiz to see what you've learned.
So let's break it down one more time. For diffusion, What moves? Any small molecule. Does it need energy? Nope. A good example is oxygen in your lungs. Now, for osmosis, what moves? Remember, only water. Does it need energy? Still no. And a great example is a plant drinking. They're both passive transport.
Okay, quiz time. Question number 1. Is energy needed for diffusion? Think about it. Ready? The answer is no. It's passive transport, so it just happens all by itself. Next question. Why does that tea color spread so much faster in hot water? What's going on there? The answer is because heat gives the molecules way more energy. More energy means they move faster. And last question for today. What is the biggest difference between diffusion and osmosis? This is the important one. The answer is that osmosis is only about water. Diffusion can be other small molecules, but osmosis is just for H2O.
So, the one thing I really want you to take away today is this. Diffusion and osmosis aren't just words in a textbook. They're happening inside you, in trillions of your cells, every single second of every single day. It's what keeps you alive. And that's, well, it's pretty amazing, don't you think?